Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
It's really fun to win on defense and special teams. And that's what happened today. We won the game on defense, special teams, and just enough offense, to get it done.
I had a mindset there's only two different ways you can handle it. One was, you just say, well, screw this. And the other was you can go in, you can make a difference. You can stay a senior leader. You can still step up and improve others around you, and that's what I did.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, a brand new week here of Sports Talk coming to you from downtown Columbia. Hope you had a great weekend. Great to be back with you here in our studios in Columbia. Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, the Professor Tom Hayes. A lot to talk about from over the weekend, and we want to hear from you. We're going to jump to as many phone calls as we can get to tonight early on. 800-956-7266 is how you can dial us up. You can also email us as well. A lot of you do that. Talk back at sportstalksc.com, on Twitter at SportsTalkSC, and the website is sportstalksc.com, and on Facebook, Sports Talk Radio Network. I had the chance to cover Clemson over the weekend. Thought it was a fantastic game in terms of intensity and drama and keeping you on the edge of your seat. Both teams left it all out on the field. Wasn't a pretty game by any means, but it's the kind of game that you have to win sometimes when the offenses are being held in check by two very good defenses. But, guys, the big story, of course, is Deshaun Watson. We turn the clock back to August and the first of the season for Clemson because Cole Stout is now the guy once again back in charge of the offense.
Full circle, Cole Stout.
If he was an NBA big man, all they would do is tape the two fingers together and you keep playing. But, yeah it's on his throwing hand, and that's unfortunate. That's why I said Deshaun Watson, the only thing I would ask him to do is get down. And he almost got down just before the guy got the jersey, and he slung him around, and his digit got snapped.
Yeah, that's one thing you always have to worry about with dual threat guys. And remember, he broke his collarbone in the spring, and they don't hit a lot in the spring, but they had opened up a few of the scrimmages to thump a little bit, and he broke his collarbone. And now after just two, really barely over two starts, he was just getting into his third start, he's dinged up. So hopefully he'll be able to bounce back. And Dabo said yesterday that he could be back for the Georgia Tech game. And really, they should be able to win these next few games without him, just like they did against Louisville. They didn't score an offensive touchdown and they won because their special teams and their defense, that defense is legitimate. That is a top 10 defense. They're not using smoke and mirrors. You can talk about who they played, yada, yada, yada. Those are really good defensive players. They have 5-6 guys that will probably be playing on Sundays on that defense. So they can ride that defense until they get their guy back.
And one of the things you didn't see is because I smell Auburn on that last play, and apparently Clemson banged the tight end so he couldn't come out on the other side, because I just saw a misdirection play coming.
Tigers will see another really good defense this weekend in Boston College, though. And, again, the whole dynamics of Clemson offense changes now. We'll be right back to your calls and more here on Sports Talk. course, South Carolina had the weekend off. Gamecocks had a chance to heal up a little bit. Steve Spurrier said everyone's pretty much healthy. Brandon Wild's okay. Cody Waldrop's still a little questionable. For Furman, if he's not 100%, they probably would hold him for this game against Furman. Clemson favored by 9.5, going up to Boston College. I'll be heading up with the Tigers. We'll be covering that game for you here on Sports Talk all week long and through the weekend. K-Mac will be covering the Gamecocks this weekend as they take on Furman. Then the Gamecocks have that big game at Auburn. What a crazy, wacky weekend it was in college football. As the way things are lining up right now, by the end of the season, if you're lucky, you might have one or two unbeatens. We know Mississippi State's not going to stay unbeaten because one's going to lose when they play each other.
Nobody in the West is going to be unbeaten.
We're going to lose another unbeaten this weekend when Notre Dame goes to Florida State. So there'll be very few unbeatens, if any. Marshall might have the best chance. Of course, they're in the top 25, but buried way back there at the tail end of it. But they might have the best chance of anybody to finish undefeated. 800-956-7266. To your phone calls in just a moment. Quick thoughts on the Clemson game from me since I was there. And a great crowd, great day at Death Valley. Tigers opened the day by getting a commitment from a junior quarterback that they wanted badly, Zarek Cooper. So he's in the bag for 2016. Then they went out and got the early lead. Got a defensive touchdown, no offensive touchdowns. Chad Morris said he couldn't recall the last time he coached in a game and didn't have an offensive touchdown, but that was because Louisville's defense was truly very good. And I tell you what impressed me. When they hit you, you went down. You heard the guys say during the week how physical Louisville's secondary was and their linebackers. And I tell you what, hindsight's 20/20, but the Gamecocks, they made a terrible mistake with Lorenzo Malden. He would certainly have eased the loss of Jadeveon Clowney and Chaz Sutton. He would be a star at South Carolina. They have him playing a will linebacker, standing up and rushing the quarterback, dropping back in coverage. Just a terrific, athletic, defensive end, outside linebacker type. Kelsey on the other side, very good. Their defense was everything you would have expected it to be. Clemson's defense as well. I mean, both offenses were hampered. Now, I think Louisville made a mistake in that they waited too long to go back to their natural number one quarterback who'd been out for a couple of games. Once they put him in, it gave them more of a passing game, and they had a couple of threats. And, of course, the threat at the very end of the game where they almost scored. Terrific play by Jerron Kearse to save the day, and then Deshaun Williams came up with the big defensive play at the very end. It was a crazy finish for Louisville, spiking the ball with no timeouts on third down, so putting them in a situation where it was all or nothing on a fourth down play, and Clemson came up with a big defensive play. But it was one of those wins, if you're Clemson, you just go, woo, we escaped here with a victory, hard fought, and other parts of the team came through when the offense could not. So the Tigers win, and now they move on to play a Boston College team that beat up NC State. Boston College team with a quarterback who's from Florida, former Gator quarterback, who's a terrific runner. They lead the ACC in rushing. They're also very good on defense. So we'll talk more about them as we move through the week. Couple of quick notes looking ahead. The Clemson and Syracuse game week after next has been set for a 7 o'clock kickoff at Death Valley on ESPNU. The South Carolina-Auburn game on that same weekend at Auburn, and that has been set for 7:30 at Auburn, and not sure yet, K-Mac, which TV network that's going to be on, SEC network maybe, or one of the other ESPN outlets.
Or ESPN too.
Yeah, they're going to wait and see how things play out. So 7:30 USC Auburn, 7 o'clock Clemson and Syracuse. And the FCS rankings for this week, Coastal Carolina, 7-0, more wins than anybody in the country, 7-0. And they drop a spot to number 4. Go figure. While Charleston Southern, which had Vanderbilt on the ropes, a great chance to win at an SEC opponent's place, and they could not hold on to the end, fall at Vanderbilt, but they move up a spot to number 23 at 5-1. North Dakota State, number 1, followed by Eastern Washington and New Hampshire. And quickly, Jameis Winston came back in the news, late-breaking information this afternoon about him. This is not related to the rape charge. He is now being investigated for autographs.
Autographs, yep. They're looking at some of the autographs that he has online that are linked to the same guy that was connected to Todd Gurley, who, oh, by the way, Todd Gurley did practice with the Georgia football team today, according to Seth Emerson.
Which I figured. See, sometimes a wounded bear is more dangerous than one that's healthy. And when Georgia lost him, they said, okay, Missouri.
Interesting.
This is what we got.
So he practiced today under the threat of being ineligible because that's the threat. If they find that he took money back in the spring, makes him ineligible and makes Georgia susceptible to forfeiting every game he's played in. Interesting that he would practice.
Well, I don't know if it applies to practice. A lot of times it's up to the school to decide whether you're going to let him practice or not. Now, they put him in against, if they would have played him against Missouri, saying, oh, we believe in him and we're going to keep playing him. I think practicing, it is interesting to see, if that means Georgia believes that he's going to be okay, because the bottom line is you have to prove it. And this isn't a court of law. It's a lot different. The NCAA doesn't have subpoena power, and if they can't prove that he took money in the exact amount, there's not a lot of recourse from. That's what happened with the Cam Newton situation.
If Johnny Manziel wiggle off,
if they think it's $400, then pay the $400 back and let him go back and play football. All right. I mean, it's not going to make any difference to the rest of the season in terms of the team if he's in uniform, whether he took $400 or not. It doesn't change anything about the makeup of the team. It does if he's not available. By the way, and I know, and K-Mac and I were talking about this earlier, this is by no means to suggest that South Carolina has any hope of winning the East. However, they got this weekend what they needed. They needed Florida to lose, and they did. They needed Missouri to lose, and they did.
Did they get a new defense?
Well, maybe they did.
Okay, because that's what they need.
Steve Spurrier says this is the second half of the season.
Did Auburn decide they aren't going to play football anymore? They needed that
possible.
Too. Are they going to forfeit the rest of their season?
Possible. Are you suggesting the Gamecocks can't beat Auburn?
I'm suggesting that the chances of them beating Auburn, I'm not going to go, a few years ago when South Carolina went down to Florida, I've gotten a lot of heat from people when I said they had no chance to win. And people, how can you say they have no chance?
Well,
they lost like 50-7.
Okay, I'm sorry. What's said in the office stays in the office.
Well, yeah. I do not think this. First of all, Vegas has it as a 21-point early line in favor of Auburn. It's an awful matchup for South Carolina. It's not like the Georgia game where they don't really have a great passing attack and you can stack the line and try to stop Gurley. Auburn is an awful matchup for that defense. They couldn't stop Kentucky in the Wildcat. One play. Auburn does about 10 plays that are goofy like that that are hard to stop.
And they have 2 weeks to get ready.
The interesting thing about it, Kentucky's Wildcat may have helped them on the film. That's why I say a team is always in flux. Now, I will say this. I'm of the Al Davis school, just win, baby. Notice that Alabama has no offense right now. But guess what they're doing?
Find a way.
They find a way. Yeah. Find a way. Hey, we found out that Baylor may have no defense, but find a way.
One more note on Clemson, and this could be a problem for them. They have no running game. And without Deshaun Watson, their running game is even less. But, they tried to run against Louisville, and now they got to turn to Cole Stout. And Boston College is going to put a defense on the field that's going to make Cole Stout. He's going to have to throw for 300 yards. And
it's a scary game.
Can he do that? Very scary. Yeah. And if Sharon Peak, of course, he remains out. He had a procedure on his knee. Scoped. So
I'm drinking the state of Mississippi Kool-Aid, as I said. But here's the big mystery of the whole weekend. Todd Grantham, where was this defense in Georgia? You had better athletes in Georgia.
Matty Locke is playing terrible.
But Louisville's defense looks like they're well coached. Who would have thunk it with Todd Grantham?
Yep. Oh, yeah, Todd Grantham at Louisville. Yeah,
right. Exactly. Bobby Petrino, who's an offensive guru, it was clueless. Just some head-scratching decisions there by
No ALCS tonight, rained out in Kansas City. They'll pick it up tomorrow night, weather permitting, and then there'll be no off day the rest of the series. They'll just have to play it out as long as it goes. So no baseball tonight in Kansas City. We get to your phone calls, 800-956-7266. We welcome John in Greenville first up tonight here on Sports Talk. Good evening, John. How are you?
How y'all doing tonight? I just got a couple of questions to ask, and I'll hang up and listen to you answer them.
Mm-hmm.
The first question is, I'd like to know, what do you think Clemson's chances are of winning their next 3 games without Deshaun Watson? And then the second question is, how does Clemson keep on getting these commitments from these great quarterbacks? And could you tell a little bit about the guy that committed to him Saturday? I know he's a number 5 rated quarterback in the country. I think it said by Smith and Street or somebody. Could you just tell me a little bit about him? I'll hang up and listen to you.
All right, thanks very much. How is Clemson going to fare? Well, Syracuse and Wake Forest are pitiful, so they shouldn't really have any issues there. And they get Syracuse at home, and they get Wake on a Thursday night, and they should have no trouble there. I am really concerned for them this weekend after looking at Boston College. And, listen, Boston College hammered. I mean, they ran the ball all over Southern Cal at home. Mm-hmm. And, Southern Cal, we know Southern Cal's a pretty good football team. They ran up and down the field on them.
But
and now they're going to get
jet lag to Southern Cal.
Well, I don't know, but they're going to have to fly up there nonetheless.
Yeah.
And, they're going to get Clemson at their place. This is a huge game for Boston College in terms of a statement game for them. So if I'm Clemson, I'd be very, very concerned. This might be a trap game, whatever you want to call it. Maybe it's not a trap game because you don't have Deshaun Watson. You're not at full strength. You're going back to who is now your number 2 quarterback, yet he was good enough to win the job in the spring and in preseason camp to start out the season. So they have faith in Cole Stout, and I give him credit because he didn't practice last week. He's got a bum shoulder. He took a shot of cortisone or whatever they give you before the game to numb it up. And when he got his chance to go out there, he took shot after shot. They didn't ask him to go downfield much. He threw a lot of sideways passes. He did throw one bullet pass to Mike Williams for about 20 yards or so. They didn't really challenge him deep with the passing game. Don't know if he can throw it deep because of his shoulder. Even though it's on the other side of his shoulder, it's pain all the way across.
Well, but looking at your question, looking at the Louisville game, it's not like Deshaun Watson had figured out what Louisville was doing while he was in there.
Correct.
So
mm-hmm.
I ask you, is the offensive line depth rearing its ugly head as far as protection is concerned at this point?
Well, I just think they ran up against a good defense. That's going to, listen, they're among the nation's leaders in sacks, and they're also among the nation's leaders in interceptions, and they showed why against Clemson. They got sacks and they got picks. Well, and they've done it against everybody.
All season long, though, there has been a decisive difference between Cole Stout running that offense and Deshaun Watson running that offense. And they are going to take a step down with Cole Stout. There's no doubt about it. Can they win? That's the question.
Talk about the commitment to Zarek Cooper. We'll do that coming up in our recruiting report. Stay tuned for that. We'll be right back. right, welcome back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network from Columbia, Main Street. Your Sports Talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes. One more thing. Dabo Swinney is as stubborn as a 5-inch block of granite. I mean, they will not concede, and I guess Chad Morris is as well. They will not concede the idea that on 3rd, 4th, and a half yard or less, it's a good idea to get under center and sneak for the first. They just will not concede that that's a good idea.
And you know
what
what's
you did notice at the end of the game when they were backed up to their own goal line, what did they do? They got under center.
Yeah, they didn't do the.
And they snuck it out. They didn't line up in the shotgun back there.
No,
so
that wouldn't have been smart.
That is, but Dabo said after the game, nope. We do what we do.
But they didn't say that after Florida State. The reason after the Florida State game was, Deshaun Watson struggles getting under center, so that's why we didn't do it. Well, you had Cole Stout in there, and he did the same thing. So what, just say it.
Won't do it.
But it just seemed that the linebackers for Louisville, like a sort of a run blitz, the line stalemates, and they in the backfield. As soon as the snap got there, I said they have no chance to get.
Yeah, weak offensive line, and I don't get it, but I do appreciate people that aren't afraid to go down with the ship with their ideas. And I had Clemson lost that game, boy, and that's just the thing about college football. It's such a fine line between winning and losing, and that literally 1 yard away from losing that game. But the poor clock management at the end of that first half would have been out there, and that's on Cole Stout. They didn't tell him to go there and run the ball. I'm sure they throw it away. He's got to do better there. And then the short yardage situations where length of a chain, you're turning the length of a chain into 6 yards by doing the shotgun formation. Nobody understands that other than Chad Morris. All
right, this quick story, I don't know if you saw this came back. A grand jury has dismissed a misdemeanor charge against former USC running back Kenny Miles, who was accused of providing false information to investigators about how he was shot November 2013. Neil Lurie, Miles' attorney from here in Columbia, said today the grand jury decided to dismiss the case because an initial police report filed with the Richland County Sheriff's Department said Miles was, quote, incoherent to his surroundings after he made the statement, end of quote. The charge was dropped 5 months ago, Lurie said. Miles was charged in January with providing false information to law enforcement after telling deputies he was shot during an attempted robbery. He acknowledged he shot himself in a botched suicide attempt and intentionally lied to investigators, according to the arrest warrant. And Lurie says that Miles is doing really well. They speak every now and then, and he is doing much better. All right, back to the phones, 800-956-7266. We go to Lancaster. Tiger Bryan, you're up next on Sports Talk. How are you?
Pretty good, guys. How y'all doing tonight?
So far, so good.
Hey, man, I want to tell you something. I got one comment about Winston down there in Florida State. Hey, they can't get him for rape. How you think they're going to get him for autograph? Come on now.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
You got him for crab legs.
Yeah, you cool, bro. I like that. But I got a question there. Hey, if they're not gonna put nobody up on the center, Choice, our running back at Clemson, was a quarterback in high school. Won't they do the wildcat at the half-yard line? I mean, daggum.
I don't think Clemson's done the wildcat since regularly since C.J. Spiller. Have they? Have they used anybody else back there in wild? Did Rod McDowell ever take a wildcat snap?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
I think C.J. might have been the last one that they used in a regular.
Ellington didn't ever do it, did he?
Maybe Ellington. Maybe Ellington a little bit.
I'd like to give one more shout out to the Lancaster Bruins. First time we've been 5-1 in a long time with that new coach we got.
Aren't you 6-1 now? Aren't you 6-1?
6-1, yeah. We won. We squeaked one out this week by 1 point.
Yes,
we got South coming up this week.
They're getting it done.
We got Union. Old Tannehill, your boy Tannehill. We got Union in a couple of weeks.
I saw Tannehill tweeted over the weekend. I think they lost on Friday night. He tweeted something like, "Been a tough weekend. Lost on Friday night. Then went deer hunting. Didn't see any deer." And I think he was just going to go seclude himself somewhere and pout because they had a tough Friday night and a tougher Saturday, I guess. All right, Tiger Brian, thank you, man. Appreciate the phone call. We go to Chris in Lancaster next up here on Sports Talk. Hello, Chris.
Hey guys, how you doing this afternoon?
Man, we're doing great.
Just got a comment pretty much. We give Stout a hard time about being the quarterback at Clemson and this and that and the other. Being behind Deshaun Watson. But I believe this week right here is going to be the tail of the tape for Cole Stout. If he can go up to Chestnut Hill and pull out a victory for us, and get us in the end zone a couple of times, I believe that's all we're going to need. I think our defense will be able to hold them pretty stout. And I'll hang up my list to your comments. Thanks.
Well, so you're thinking, winning something along the lines of 21 to something, 17 to something. By the way, I will point out that somebody sitting here in this room said that it would be a low-scoring game. That Clemson would win 24 to something.
That a certain quarterback
Let's
would
don't
break
go
a
back.
finger.
Let's don't go back and bring up anything else. Let's just stick to the point that I nailed it. Why can't you give me credit when I nail it?
Okay,
I nailed it.
I nailed Georgia against
It's not
Mizzou.
about you. It's about me. We're not nobody. I'm not talking.
I'm
If you wanted to
deflecting.
bring up the fact that you nailed the Georgia-Missouri game, feel free.
I thought we were just nailing as far as that's concerned. But you
But
didn't
say some
say
of those
that
pats on the
Deshaun
back,
Watson
guys.
would break a digit, though.
Don't break your hands patting yourselves on the back.
Anyway, if you feel confident that Cole Stout can do it this Saturday up there, that's fine, and he might. That's the thing about Cole is, and K-Mac said it earlier. He just doesn't give that offense the explosive dimension that Deshaun Watson gave it. He doesn't run it well enough to do that. So what you saw from Clemson offensively against Georgia and South Carolina State, of course, they did score 70. But then Florida State, in the quarter and a half or so that he played, that's how Clemson's offense is going to look. But I think to be concerned, to add to the concern, is that their running game has regressed since those first games. And they got stonewalled against Louisville. And I'll say this too. Louisville didn't run for a great amount of yards, but they did find some running room right up the middle against Clemson's defense. They did gash the defense 4 or 5 times. They had a little bit of running success. They just couldn't sustain it because they didn't have much of a passing threat for much of the game until they changed quarterbacks, till Gardner went in there. So Clemson's a 9.5-point favorite. I'll share my thoughts and picks on the game later on, but for Clemson, I'd be very concerned about this game. I would be very concerned.
But, it's interesting, Phil. I think an offensive line gets in rhythm just like a running back does. And if you don't call consecutive or at least 3 or 4 running plays, they can't get in a rhythm to just get a push on people. They're used to backpedaling and pass blocking. I think you have to get the offensive line in a rhythm, and that means Dabo at some point has to be stubborn with the running game. Keep running it, and then something will break.
It's hard to say that Louisville had any success running anywhere, anytime. They only had 52 yards rushing. They averaged 1.4 yards per rush. But I do remember 3 or 4 runs up the middle where they had some success. Dominic Brown had 47 rushes along of 9. Brandon Radcliffe had 23 rushing along of 11. There wasn't a whole lot of running room anywhere, but they did have a little bit of success. Boston College is more of an option threat with their running game, with Murphy, their quarterback, who's a great athlete and a very good runner. So playing responsibilities, playing the option pitch and that sort of stuff. Not the triple option. They don't run the triple option. They run more of your I formation option. But not much of a passing threat is Boston College, but they certainly can line up and run the football.
Beware of the misdirection also.
Probably so. All right, thanks for the phone call. We'll take more in a moment. Also recruiting coming up. David Shelton with our high school review as well. It's Sports Talk, Monday night from Columbia. Back in a moment. right, we'll get back to your phone calls in just a moment here on Sports Talk. Time for the recruiting report. And it is brought to you by South Carolina's Electric Cooperative, sponsors of the 2014 Touchdown Energy Bowl. Hope to see you there at Myrtle Beach High School for what should be an outstanding all-star football game December 13th. Make your plans now to be there with the All-Stars. All right, the recruiting report and that commitment for Clemson. Junior quarterback Zarek Cooper, 6'3", 195, highly regarded, committed while on his unofficial visit with his parents Saturday. Second commitment for the Tigers 2016 class. Some of the other offers: Ohio State, Nebraska, Virginia Tech, Kentucky, Ole Miss, NC State, and Miami. Suffered a season-ending knee injury in week 2. As a sophomore, he passed for 1,200 yards and 7 touchdowns with 3 interceptions. And he said the relationship with Morris and Sweeney, he wouldn't find that anywhere else. They've stuck with him through his injury. He's a dual-threat quarterback, runner, and passer, and he compares himself to Deshaun Watson in playing style. And he says he's making good progress in recovery from the ACL injury. We'll try and get him on the show this week to talk more about himself and his commitment. Junior receiver Jason Hopper, 6'1", 190 of Lexington, going into Friday night, 37 catches, 400 yards, and 7 touchdowns. He grew up a USC fan, but getting the most attention in-state from Clemson. Camped there for 3 days last summer. He's been there for 2 games this season, and he said they're going to take 3 receivers, and he's got to show them on film that he should be one of them. But he did love it up there on his visits. He has an offer from Appalachian State. He went there over the weekend. He's also heard from Purdue, Virginia, and Kentucky. Junior receiver Samuel Denmark of Hanahan has been to Clemson for the North Carolina and NC State games and spoke with assistants Tony Elliott, Jeff Scott a good bit. They've told him they like him, just to keep working hard. They want to see more film on him. Still waiting on his first official offer, but he said that Notre Dame has extended a verbal offer. He went there earlier in the season for the Michigan game, enjoyed that. Wake Forest is up next for him. He'll visit there Saturday. USC, Clemson, NC State, Notre Dame, and Wake are also showing some interest. He does not have a favorite. Junior linebacker Devin Bush Jr., Pembroke Pines, Florida, trimmed a list of offers down to 15, including USC. Some of the others are Georgia, Florida, Louisville, Miami, North Carolina, Tennessee, Oregon State, Duke, and Mississippi State. Presbyterian picked up a commitment from Westside quarterback Cal King. Also had offers from Charleston Southern and James Madison. Newberry gained a commitment from linebacker Matt McCurry from Somerville. All right, there you go with recruiting. Check it out online at our website, sportstalksc.com. On Twitter, use the hashtag STRecruiting. Back to your phone calls, and it's Billy and Florence up next with us here on Sports Talk. Good evening, Billy. How are you?
Hey, fine. How about you guys?
Terrific.
So, Larry Williams updated on Tigers Illustrated. He's going to run Adam Choice out of that Wildcat. Adam Choice, what was it? And correct me if I'm wrong, Phil. You probably got it right in front of you. He finished strong, and I'm going to give props to Louisville. Malden, first rounder, if not early second rounder to safety. That would help Mike Williams. He did his job. I mean, Louisville's playing with Charlie Strong's players, and Charlie Strong was a heck of a recruiter. And I saw that on Tigers Illustrated because of Adam Choice's finish. I think it was 61 yards, or 15 carries, 61 yards. I don't know. That's the reason I wish I wouldn't have even quoted it for somebody to call me out wrong or so forth.
Well, he had 16 carries for 61 yards, and he was the main worker on that last drive that got them that much-needed field goal at the very end. He carried the ball quite a bit. He had a 10-yard run. He had a 3-yard run, 8, 6, 11, 6, 4, and 1. So, yeah, he was the workhorse on that final drive.
And I'll say this, too. I give props to Cole, and it was his non-throwing shoulder. I mean, 85,000. It was in Death Valley, and knowing they didn't want to sit Cole with Deshaun Watson, and he had a shot in his non-throwing shoulder and had not taken a rep all week, and the kid comes in there and throws. I want to say he was 20 for 33, and he could have called it quits and said, heck with this. You know, I've lost my job. But he came in and filled in, I thought, manageable. Louisville did give him a couple breaks by dropping a couple picks that he misread on some check downs. But I think I will say this, though. I think we're fine. Kyler Murphy, what he did to Southern Cal, I think Clemson's a better team than Southern Cal as far as depth-wise because of the scholarship reduction. But I think we'll win out, and I think we're fine, and Deshaun Watson will be back for Georgia Tech. And I think we'll be fine with that physical defense we've got.
All right, we shall see. We shall see. Boston College against Southern Cal. Yeah, all they had was 506 yards, and they rushed for 452 yards. 452. More of your calls coming up in the next hour. Also, we will hear some from Cole Stouts, Steve Spurrier, Dabo Sweeney, voice of the Panthers. Mick Mixon will be here as well. Let's check in on high school football after another big Friday night. The playoffs are right around the corner. We welcome in David Shelton for tonight's South Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance High School Football Report. Okay, so York goes down after being number one. Dorman goes down after being number one. Is this a signal with Spartanburg High School? Chris Miller and company getting the Vikings on the way back to being a premier football team?
Well, you know, I think they were on the way back. I think they didn't play very well against Burns and didn't win, but they didn't play very well. And, you know, that's a rivalry game with Dorman. You know, you knew they were going to bounce back and play well. Dorman did not play great defense. And I think there's a familiar tone with all these 4A teams, these really good 4A teams. None of them really play great defense. I mean, these offenses are good, but they should not be this good. And I think, you know, Goose Creek, in my opinion, is playing the best defense out of all of them, but they may not be scoring as much. But, you know, York, Dorman, Burns, Spartanburg, those teams like that, they're very powerful offensively. They can score. It's going to come down. There's going to be some great playoffs. Dutch Fork's another one that can score with anybody. The team that really puts it together defensively down the stretch is going to be the team that wins it. And, you know, I think maybe Burns might be the one personnel-wise that can be that team. But then, you know, they still got to play Dorman. So, you know, we'll see what happens. But it makes for entertaining football if nothing else.
You got that right. What else caught your eye on Friday night?
Obviously the win by Fort Dorchester beating Somerville for the first time in 15 years, and that made big headlines down in the Low Country. And the way they did it, they fell behind with like 4 minutes to go, then they threw a long pass and ended up scoring late to win it. So I think that was the big newsmaker in the Low Country. The win by who beat Spring Valley? I'm drawing a blank, but Spring Valley got beat. Berkland Casey got beat. Those were teams in the Midlands that were, doing pretty well. And I think AC Florida there in the Midlands in 3A, they kind of made a statement with a nice win over Chapin. Thought maybe they might get a Shrine Bowler on the team, didn't get one, and kind of played with a chip on their shoulder. And I think AC Florida is going to win out. I think they're going to go into the postseason undefeated.
Blythewood beat Spring Valley.
Blythewood, yeah. Real quick, what about this Westwood team in Columbia?
Very fast, very athletic, really good on defense. They're a player. I mean, they're a team that's going to have to – people are going to have to play well against, and kind of had these guys coming for 2 or 3 years, so this is their year, and I think they're going to be a strong contender.
Can there be a spoiler in Division II?
Absolutely. May not be a spoiler, maybe a favorite.
Maybe a favorite. David, we thank you so much, my man. We'll talk to you later in the week.
Okay, guys, take care.
All right, David Shelton, High School Sports Report, our South Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance High School Football Report for tonight. Top of the hour break. We'll take more calls. Fill them up, 800-956-7266, and we'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talk@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, we're back, and let's get right back into your phone calls, 800-956-7266. Go over to Sumter and Mike. You're next up on Sports Talk on this Monday night. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good, gentlemen. I haven't been able to get on TV or see anything much on the internet, but what is Deshaun Watson's injury? How many games is he going to be out?
Right now they're saying he'll be back for Georgia Tech, which would mean the next 3 games he would miss if he stays on that schedule.
And I read somewhere a month to 5 weeks. It just depends.
Mm-hmm. So they're thinking
it's a fast healing bone, though, according to Dabo Sweeney.
Well, he said after the game there'd be no surgery.
Heal at different speeds, so I didn't know. Like you have this bone, like you have a different bone that heals slow and one that heals.
See,
fast.
after the game, Dabo said no surgery, no pins. They were just going to cast it and let it go. And then by yesterday, it was have to have pins.
But no cast. They'll splint it. He doesn't have to put a cast on.
Yeah. Is that good? Does that help the healing process?
I think that, well, they'll be able to take the splint off every day and look at it. And,
the only thing I worry about is almost like a basketball shooter. If it's a finger on your throwing or shooting hand, psychologically, it still affects you even when you play until you get comfortable with it again. That's the only thing I worry about. So he'll have to regain his rhythm and touch by playing, and that's the only way he can do it is by playing.
I saw Kobe Bryant win a world championship with his index finger and another finger taped together. I mean, it's different for different people. Now, throwing a football, yeah, he is. He's superhuman. But hopefully they'll get him back for the Georgia Tech game. They all seem to think that that's a pretty realistic target date, November 15th, Georgia Tech. Of course, they have a bye week before that too.
Anything else, sir?
Yes, sir. My second question is: do you guys really believe Mississippi State is for real? Personally, I don't.
Yes.
What do they have to do? What do they have to do? They beat 3 top 10 teams in a row. They beat LSU, Texas A&M, and Auburn. Back to back.
I think they have something like 5 redshirt
seniors to beat the Patriots next
on their defense and about 3 true seniors. So they got 8 or 9 seniors on that defense.
And a quarterback that has, when Tim Tebow won the Heisman Trophy, he had video game numbers. Dak Prescott's numbers are better. I know it's Mississippi State. They're in Starkville. They're forgotten about school. They weren't ranked at all 5 weeks ago, and now they're number 1. But that's a legitimate team. Now, I do think they're going to lose,
Miss is
but
real
they're legit.
too.
Yeah.
Now they get a week off, and then they'll go to Kentucky. That's going to be a huge game.
Dangerous.
Kentucky will probably have a blackout again, all that kind of nonsense, and that could be tough. Then they get Arkansas at home. And then after UT Martin, they go to Alabama. Circle that date, the 15th of November. Then after a scrimmage against Vanderbilt at home, they go to Ole Miss. So they got 3. You had to put Kentucky in the tough category. They've got 3 tough.
Nobody in the East. I don't think an East team will beat a West team this year.
That Wildcat will not work against Mississippi State's defense.
The East is just
yeah.
At Florida, that was their chance. But who in the East is going to beat them in the West?
Well, maybe South Carolina will beat Auburn tonight.
You're a funny guy, Corn.
Be right back.
Cole, what was it like getting back out there?
Man, it was great. Just
Eight 800-956-7266. Couple of lines for you if you want to join us here on the program, talking about Clemson's win over Louisville, looking ahead to Boston College. USC's return to the gridiron this week against Furman. K-Mac says no way, Jose, that they'll ever be able to beat Auburn in 2 weeks. Want to talk about that as well. 800-956-7266.
Exactly what I said, but okay. That's close enough.
That's
I'm not going to spend
a
lot of time disputing it. I don't think they're going to win. No.
Tomorrow it's a Talking Tuesday. Steve Spurrier, Dabo Sweeney, and of course that'll be brought to you here on Sports Talk by South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork powered by soy. Now, the Tigers, they had to find a way to win Saturday, and they did. Their offense generated just enough, 3 field goals. They got a defensive touchdown, a special teams touchdown. Cole Stout stepped in after Deshaun Watson went out with a broken finger, a return to a meaningful action for him. He really hadn't done much since Watson replaced him in the Florida State game, and I think probably in his mind it was like, rest of my year, I'm just going to stand here on the sideline signaling in plays and thinking about things. But nope, he's been thrust back into it. And after the game on Saturday, he talked about returning to the position of leading the Clemson offense.
It was great, just felt good going back out there, being out there with the guys, and just kind of go out there and just having some fun. It's exciting being out there with them. That's just what I want to do. Just kind of how I did. I just prepared and I was ready.
You had practiced all.
Right. Yeah. I got hurt last week. I didn't take that many reps. Actually, I didn't take any until the Thursday practice, and I just stayed focused in the meeting rooms, out there in the practice, and just just so that I was ready if anything ever happened. And I was ready when my time came.
Obviously, you didn't want to see Deshaun get hurt, but what's going through your mind once you see him come out of the game?
It's never good seeing someone come out of the game. It's just something that you just got to step up and be ready and just go in, and that's what we're going to do from here on out. We're just going to keep on going and just keep getting better. And just it's sad that he hurt his hand. He's going to be out for a while, but I know he's going to recover and he'll be good.
How difficult was it just to come back in after sitting on the sidelines for a while?
Not that difficult because it's something that I've done before, something that I'm prepared for, and I was ready throughout meetings and practice. So I was prepared for my situation.
Did your shoulder bother you, John?
A little bit, yeah. It hurt pretty bad, but I didn't really want to come out, and so I just kind of fought through it because I
really want to come out. It's missed an opportunity, so I just stay out there with the guys. And it wasn't pretty, but we found a way to win.
Did
so.
it affect your throwing motion at all?
No, I don't think so. It was fine after that. Yeah.
Chad said that he asked you if you wanted to come out, if he needed to get Nick ready. Walk us through that conversation.
I think it was after one play where I got hit pretty hard, and he looked at me and goes, "You good? You want to come out?" And I just shook my head and said, "No, don't take me out right now." And I think that was about the second quarter, third quarter, something like that. And I just told him, "No, I don't want to come out."
What happened on the play at the end of the half where he told you to throw it away? You didn't have anything, but you didn't, and you guys ran out of time?
I just tried to make a play. I thought I saw a hole, and then it just kind of clogged up. But that's something we'll see in practice and on film, and what I could have done better.
Do you think you'll be able to suck it up and play next week?
Yeah, I think I will. Just get in there, getting the treatment, and I'll be in there right after here, and then I'll be in there in the morning and afternoon. So I'll be in treatment a lot this week, and I'll be good to go. I'll practice and everything.
What's the word you guys are hearing on Deshaun as far as how long he might be out?
I haven't talked to any of the trainers, anything like that. That's more of Coach Sweeney and Danny Poole.
When you were replaced as the starter, I mean, Chad was saying how some guys could have sulked and quit and everything, but you kind of just stayed the course and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Just talk about your mindset of being mentally tough enough to be ready for your opportunity when it's called.
I saw it as two ways. It's one way I can either just say screw this and just kind of move on, just pack up. But I decided to get my mind right, just kind of go in there and make myself better every single day, because there will be a time where I honestly believe that there would be a time where my opportunity would come up again, and it did, and I was ready for it. Even when I haven't practiced all week, I knew I was prepared, and I didn't want to. I knew the team was bigger than just one person, so I didn't want to affect the team at all. So I just went in there and just tried to be the best I could be and make other people around me better.
Cole, what's the attitude of the offense? Obviously, you guys got the win, but no points from the offensive unit.
It's something that it's kind of tough, but we'll see what we could have done better on film. I know there's a lot we can do better, and I think everyone thinks the same thing. But it's something. It's a stepping stone that we're gonna have to go back into the film room and just kind of see what we could have corrected.
I mean, so many times around here, there's been games won by shootouts. Well, today was the defense, the special teams, aiming, knocking down field goals. So I go to him during the game. I mean, just talk about this total team win that you guys had.
It was great. It's good to have when offense isn't doing well and the defense stepping up, or if it's the other way around. And special teams made a huge difference today. And I was very proud of Ammon going in there and making all those field goals, because without those field goals, I don't think we would have won the game, because that was huge for him stepping up and making those.
You said that coach asked if you wanted to come out of the game. Given the rocky road that you've had this year, what would it take for you to actually come out of a game?
Me not be able to get up. That's the only way they would get me off the field is they were going to drag me off. But I just had a mindset that I didn't want to come off.
Do you think you guys will look at putting you under center in those short and goal situations? You can hear the fans certainly clamoring for the quarterback to get up under center.
Right. That's something that's all in game plan. Something we'll have to see when we go in on film the next day, and just kind of plan for next week.
For the struggles that you went through today, how much of it was not being able to practice, being on the bench for the couple weeks, or how much of it was Louisville's defense? Can you kind of isolate what struggles you went through?
A big part, looking at it, Louisville's defense is probably one of the best defenses that we've played. They had an answer for everything, and they came with a hard edge, and it was a hard-fought game, and it was very tough playing against them. There's also execution on the offensive side. There's things that we all could have done better, because we're never perfect, and no team's ever really perfect. And it's something that we got to get better in the film room. Just kind of keep getting better from here.
There you go, Cole Stouts. His thoughts immediately after Saturday game. Today, Steve Adazio, Boston College's coach, had his press conference looking ahead to Clemson, and pointed out how good Clemson is on defense. We should mention Vic Beasley became the Tigers' all-time sack leader at 29. He also points out that
interesting play they gave it to him on. It looked like a run play when he got the sack, and I don't know if it was really real celebrated. At least on the television broadcast, they didn't even talk about how that was a record. And then after the fact, they said, "Oh, by the way, he set the record on this play." Yeah. It was one of those zone read plays, and the quarterback looked like he was taking off to run. But either way,
I was going to say
he got the record.
I was going to say, Adazio pointed out too that Boston College right now number 4 in the country in rushing offense, 6th in time of possession. They keep the ball 34 minutes a game, and the number 1 average of fewest defensive plays in the country that they play, 58.
And who has Boston College played again this year?
Well, they played Southern Cal. They have played, give me just a second and I'll tell you. They've played Southern Cal. they've played. I think they're give me just a second.
I mean, and they had Andre Williams last year, who was the best running back in the country.
Yeah.
One of the best running
All right,
backs.
they played
in the country.
UMass. They beat UMass 30-7 open the season.
Okay.
Then they lost to Pittsburgh 30-20. Then they beat Southern Cal 37-31. Those three were all home. Well, two were at Alumni Stadium. They played UMass at Gillette Stadium. Then they beat who is that? They beat somebody 40-10. Oh, Maine 40-10.
Okay.
Oh, the Black Bears.
Okay, I'm still.
And then
unimpressed.
they beat. Who is that? I can't make out who that is. They beat somebody. They lost 24-21. Oh, Colorado State. Colorado State beat them 24-21 at home. They hadn't played a game. Well, they just played their first game out of the state of Massachusetts this past Saturday when they went down to Carter Finley Stadium and beat NC State. And then they've got Clemson coming up. They have spent the entire season in the Boston area.
It seems to me right off the bat that Clemson can make it quick work by putting them in long yardage and second down. Win first down.
Oh, yeah. It's easier said than done.
Game.
Question is, what does that's a good question. I have to look it up and see if I can find it, what they average on first down. That's probably a key stat for them.
Because it seems to me that Boston College is a strange team that, depending on how defense is deployed, they're the type of team that'll throw on first down to set up the run on second down.
I don't know, not having seen them, but just going by the numbers and what I'm reading, I don't get that feeling. I get that feeling they use the run to set up the run with Murphy using his the run to set up the run. I don't think they like to run the ball.
Furman, the team has struggled a little bit this year, although the last game they took Coastal to overtime. I wonder, do you have an update on what?
All right, the Gamecocks had the weekend off getting ready for Furman and homecoming in Columbia, FCS opponent for the Gamecocks. And we'll hear more from Steve Spurrier tomorrow on our Talking Tuesday. But yesterday on his conference call, after being away from everybody for a week, he took a little while to update the media on the status of the Gamecocks during the off week and a little bit about getting ready for Furman.
Furman, the team has struggled a little bit this year, although the last game they took Coastal to overtime, and they in overtime. Coastal, I think, is 6-0 and considered maybe the best team in their conference. So they're a very, very capable team. Furman, well coached, play hard, play tough, and hopefully we can put a good game together. We're looking forward to it. Playing at high noon here at Williams-Brice this coming Saturday. But hopefully we can make some improvement. I know every team in the country is trying to do the same thing, trying to get better the second half of the season. We've done a pretty decent job the last 3 years, and we're going to try to do it again. So hopefully we can show a lot of progress this Saturday at noon against Furman.
Hey, Steve, it's Dave. So, do you have an update on Waltrip, Brandon Wild? Those guys were dinged up last week.
I haven't met with the trainer yet today, but right now I'd say Brandon should be able to play. Cody Waltrip is still a wait and see.
Steve, this is David Caravella in Charleston. What did you think about your players meeting among themselves last week?
Yeah, I came down to the locker room and nobody was in there, and they were all up in the meeting room. Well, if we play better, it was a good idea. If we don't play any better, it probably didn't mean much, but that's okay. It's okay for some of the older guys to say, "Come on, fellas, this is our senior year. We want to have a winning season. We want to go to the bowl game. We want to try to get this thing straightened out. Let's all pitch in and do our part." So I think that's about what it was all about. And hopefully if we practice better and play better, then it will be a beneficial meeting.
Do you take it as a good sign that your upperclassmen and your captains are kind of feeling enough of a sense of urgency to call everybody together like that?
Oh, I didn't pay as much attention to it as you did. Anytime a team loses a couple in a row the way we have, it's a sense of urgency. As I was watching college football this weekend, I realized we're not the only team that plays one right down to the wire, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, just like everybody else. So what we're hoping to do is play better. Hopefully, if we're in position to put a team away by 2 touchdowns, do it, and not rely on one side of the ball, carrying the weight. But again, we're 3-3, and we're looking forward to the second half of the season, and we believe we're going to play better. And we're going to coach better, too. Put that in there. It's not all on the players. It's on me and our coaching staff. That's another reason we're 3-3.
That solves it right there. They're just going to coach better. They're going to start beating people. Came back, that Auburn game, a couple of weeks. I mean, the Gamecocks, the kind of year they have had, they are bound to knock off somebody that they're not expected to beat.
The bone that he broke, the bone that he broke It's a very small bone. Had some very positive plays for us.
And we're back at Sports Talk here on a Monday night. Thank you for being with us. Phil Kornbluth, Professor Tom Hayes, K-Mac Kevin McCrary. Tomorrow, a Talking Tuesday here on Sports Talk. We'll hear more from Steve Spurrier as well as from Dabo Swinney as they get ready for their games coming up this weekend. And yesterday, Dabo had his conference call to recap the win against Louisville and also update the situation with Deshaun Watson and get ready for the next game upcoming against Boston College this weekend. Here is some of what Swinney said yesterday.
He broke. It's a very small bone in his finger, kind of the top part of his hand there. But it's a quicker healing bone, is what they say. But they will go in tomorrow and put 4 screws, and it basically just goes right into the bone. And we don't really know when he'll be back. We do expect him to be back at some point this season. But we'll just kind of see how that process goes. But he'll when he gets back, we'll be excited to get him back going. Other than that, everybody came through pretty good. Joe Gore is going to start back practice this week and kind of get him back going. Cole was sore, but came through okay. Sharon Peak, we actually they went in Friday and decided to go ahead and scope his knee. And basically, what they did is there was they took out a blob of what they call synovitis, and they really feel like that's going to really help him. It was kind of causing the irritation. So hopefully that'll relieve his pain there, and we can get him back going in the right direction too. So with that, I'll take your questions.
Hello, you mentioned that the painkiller shot that Cole had. Exactly what did he take to enable him to be able to play Saturday?
Well, I mean, he was just, I don't know what the actual shot is, but he had a shot in his shoulder on his left side, so he could get through the game. Something, I don't know what the name of it is.
Yeah, do you think you get Deshaun back by the Georgia Tech game?
I think that's a possibility. I think that that's certainly within the well within the time frame. I think it's a good chance. You know, you're looking at certainly out for BC. He's out for Syracuse. You know, then we have an open date. Then we have Wake, so that's 4 weeks. So Georgia Tech's 5 weeks. That's definitely not out of the question. But again, I mean, it may be sooner, maybe later. I don't know. We'll just have to see. You know how it all heals. The one positive is, again, according to the doctor, is it's a quicker healing bone. Number one. Number two, because of what they're doing, they're not going to have to cast him. So they'll be able to. I mean, they're going to splint it, and so they'll be able to take the splint off every day to really do some hand type rehab with him. So hopefully that'll speed up the process. But we'll get Cole back in practice this week. That's certainly going to help him. It's difficult when you don't get reps and you don't get to practice. And then Nick got a lot of work last week, and so this will be good for him and his development as well.
Yeah, but what's your level of comfort if Cole takes another shot this week and Nick has to come in, and who's behind him? David Olson, I guess?
Yeah. So that's what we got. I mean, go play. That's just next man up. That's just no different than anybody else out there. I mean, obviously you have a starter, you have a depth chart for a reason. But you know, we like our guys. I think Nick's very capable. He hasn't had much experience, much opportunity, but you know, he's practiced a lot and he's demonstrated that he's definitely capable of being a solid quarterback at this level. But you know, again, just hasn't had much opportunity.
Dabo, after reviewing the film, did Adam Choice do enough to see more playing time?
Yeah, he played well. You know, it's just as we've said all along. You know, we're going to have 4 backs, and we're going to play them, and you know, from week to week, we'll see who kind of gets the hot hand. And obviously, these 2 freshmen, we've been trying to kind of force feed them and bring them along as the season has progressed. And, you know, Gallman missed a couple things early, and Adam went in there and he focused, and so kind of got the hot hand, if you will, and really proud of how he played. You can see his confidence growing. Still a few things that he can clean up, but he didn't make a lot of mistakes. Still not 100% confident, you know, with his pass protection, but I thought he ran really hard and, you know, had some very positive plays for us.
All right, Dabo Swinney, we'll hear more from him tomorrow as he further breaks down the game coming up against Boston College. Now, today, BC coach Steve Addazio had his weekly press conference. One interesting note about BC, they have outrushed their opponents in their 4 wins, 1,513 yards to 134. But he knows he's facing an entirely different defensive animal this week in Clemson.
I would tell you that after watching Clemson right now, I mean, last year I told you that they were a great defense. Last year, not that what I say matters, it's no revelation, right? I mean, everyone knows they're a really good defense. But I'm saying to you that I'm watching this tape this year, and I would say to you in my career, and that would, you know, which predominantly in the SEC, I haven't seen a defense like this since we played Alabama in the SEC championship game. This is the most dominant defense I've seen, period. I'm just amazed watching them. I mean, they're all back. And they've done an unbelievable job, you know, unbelievable job of coaching these guys. I think they're really super talented and really well coached. And that's not like, here we're going to get the coach talk. I mean, I'm telling you, that's what I'm seeing and what I believe, what I'm watching on the film. People make plays on them. They're broke plays. They're not really executed plays because it's really difficult. That's how completely dominant they are. And so I'm sitting here, you know, yesterday and today, and it's an unbelievable opportunity for us to play them at home, but it's an unbelievable challenge. You know, and you know, sitting here and saying, how are we going to move the ball against these guys? That's my mind. It's like, how's that happen right now? You know, that's how good they are, and they're that good. That's why it was 41-0 with NC State, I think, before the half, or darn near that. And there was a reason for that. I mean, they're relentless. So where do you start with them? You know, I mean, you know, on defense, they're incredible. You know, I mean, you want to start with Vic Beasley. I mean, watch him. He must run 4.5. I don't think I've seen a guy that fast. Matt Patchen was a legitimate bona fide left tackle, and he was struggling with him, and he did a good job against him, but he struggled. I mean, the guy is unbelievable. He's a great pass rusher. I mean, he'll be a first-round draft pick. I mean, it's unbelievable. So if you want to, I mean, would you start with him, Vic Beasley? He's already got 8 sacks. You know, number 90, Shaq Lawson. I mean, number 50, their interior defense lineman. He's completely dominant. No one blocks him. Not a soul. Not Florida State. Not Georgia. Nobody's blocking him. Nobody. And then, you know, in the coverage, 27, their safety. 42, Stephon Anthony, the Mike linebacker. I think he's the best in the country. He's the best Mike linebacker in the country. He makes more plays, more broken passes, more tackles. They're great tackling on defense. They're amazing tackling defense. I've got a world of respect for what they're doing down there on that defensive side of that ball. Not that I don't on the other. I'm just focused on defense right now.
Well, I think he feels like they're playing the Steelers from the 70s. He just is overwhelmed by the quality of Clemson's defense. Yeah. But that's pretty interesting stuff. That's going to be an excellent matchup. I didn't realize this till I just read the notes. Tyler Murphy, the quarterback at BC, who's a running quarterback, is the only quarterback in BC history ever to rush for 100 yards in a game.
Yeah, I'm like you. You got to feel that Flutie at some point stumbled into a 100-yard game.
That's pretty amazing. But it tells you, you know, over the years they've been a throwing offense.
Yes.
Back with Mick in a moment.
the middle of the field from 36 yards to win it. The snap. Decent. Kick is on the way.
Missed it.
No good. He did not make it.
A gift.
When does a tie feel kind of like a win?
Today?
Maybe today.
When they're lining up for the win and they don't win, that's about as good as a tie could be.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
You know, Mick, that was my thought as well, that even though it was a tie, it was more like a win for the Panthers because they avoided the loss. But listening to and reading some of the post-game comments, the players don't feel that way. They feel like it's a tie, and they didn't really gain anything from the game, which is a shame. I wish the NFL would figure out a way to let them play this thing out until they have a winner like they do in college.
Corner.
Hey, Mick.
What's happening, brother?
You just missed my intro to you.
I heard most all of it. It was eloquent. I was digging it. I'm talking to you from Bank of America Stadium. It's a little rowdy. I found a quiet place to talk to you. We're having a charity event here tonight, and it was the strangest football game in the world. I mean, you didn't know whether to laugh or cry or be happy or relieved. I think anytime there's a tie game, Corn, in the NFL, there's one team that tied, and there's another team that got tied.
Yeah.
And I think in this case, we tied them, and they feel a little bit worse probably than the Panthers do today. So maybe there's not. Maybe there's a silver lining around that dark cloud somewhere.
Well, I mean, they blew the opportunity at the end to win, so no doubt they're hanging their heads a little bit more, and you guys are just relieved. Boy, Cam Newton was special yesterday, wasn't he?
Fantastic, Phil. Yeah, him returning to the run game just gives the defense an extra couple of things to have to think about. I mean, those ends can't squeeze down to stop the power running game. They have to respect that Cam Newton might pull it out and run on the option. The quarterback draw was working well, and he can't even scramble a couple of times. Not called runs, but felt the pressure and is able to. He's got the foot speed. He doesn't quite have the juice that hopefully he'll have when he gets healthier, but he's got the foot speed now to get out away from people, which is unbelievably beneficial.
It's interesting you say that because obviously anybody that plays in the NFL after the first game, you're playing with pain throughout the season. But are we looking at Cam Newton who has to play with an inordinate amount of pain this particular season? Because he went off on the sideline at one point, and it looked like he was in excruciating pain.
I really think that's the way of the world for him this year because he doesn't just have the ankle that was retreaded in the off season. He's got the ribs that were sore. He's got an elbow that keeps getting cut, a thumb that's been balky, and so. But other than that, he's pretty healthy.
But you know as well as we do, he rushed for 107 yards. But if your leading running backs are Whitaker and Reeves, it's going to be tough. How close are the Panthers to getting some of those stud running backs healthy and back in game shape?
Good question. Whitaker and Reeves sounds more like an accounting firm where you go do your taxes, more so than Double Trouble or some kind of elite group of NFL runners. D'Angelo Williams still is going to be a little longer on the recovery than Jonathan Stewart. The Panthers are able to get Stewart back on Wednesday and have him cleared to play against this little outfit that you hold stock in, the Green Bay Packers from up in the Great White North.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up next. And, of course, you know, I want the Panthers to do well every week, but just not this week. But you got to be, personally speaking, for you, and you got to be excited about going up to Green Bay and having a chance to go to Lambeau Field, call the game from there. Have you called a game from Lambeau Field before?
Couple of times, and it's a joy. Imagine a little quaint little neighborhood in Irmo, and then all of a sudden, boom, they plunk an NFL stadium down right there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people on Vince Lombardi Way that are a 7-iron away from the stadium, and all they have to do is get in their driveway and tailgate. It's really quaint. The fans are very knowledgeable, but it's going to be a heating pad. I'm afraid I'm going to have to take the long underwear and a heating pad in order to survive it.
Is it going to turn a little chilly up there?
Not so much that. It's just that I'm not cold tolerant. I like it hot.
All right, real quick, the matchup of Newton and Rodgers could be perhaps a classic?
And then Rodgers playing great. I mean, the pocket awareness that he has, the touch he's got on the deep ball, it's
phenomenal that a man his size can navigate muddy pockets the way that he can. And so, but the teams have been gaining yards on Green Bay a lot like they've been doing on the Carolina Panthers. So I don't know, can you call it? I mean, you feel
yeah,
Green Bay would have to be the favorite.
Yeah, I'm picking the Packers, of course, and they're intercepting. They're playing defense like they did when they won the Super Bowl, giving up yards but making turnovers, creating turnovers. They lead the league in interceptions, and I think creating turnovers as they did when they won the Super Bowl. So they're giving up some plays, but they're making plays back on the back end. Mick, we enjoyed it. Thank you so much for being with us. I don't guess Mick is doing his radio show tonight since he's got the special event going on. So whoever's doing the radio show, that'll be coming up around the Carolinas here after us, and we'll be back in a moment. Mick has let us know that he will be doing the radio show tonight. So he has informed us that he'll be on the air after us for those stations that carry the Panthers Monday night call-in show. Pass along this piece of information from Clemson from their Board of Trustees meeting on Friday. Dan Radakovich, the AD, briefed the Board of Trustees on building plans. The remaking of Little John would most likely require digging up and lowering the seating bowl around the court. Other changes would include reducing capacity to 9,000, opening up the concourse, creating new offices and training spaces for the programs, and more club seating. He said he would have firm plans and costs for Little John in February. That would keep the work on schedule to begin next summer and conclude before the 2016 season. He said Clemson would play its home basketball games at the Bon Secours Wellness Arena in Greenville during construction. He also revealed his intentions to build a new administrative and training complex for the football program. He said the building would be located between the indoor practice facility and Hartwell Lake and probably be around 150,000 square feet. He told the trustees the project would cost up to $62 million, but he was quick to caution that that is a high estimate. He said other top national programs, including South Carolina and Florida State, are planning or have built similar facilities. He said, quote, "This is a big building, but football is a big program and a big revenue driver. They're in the process of doing this in Columbia." End of the quote. This story, by the way, was written by Mike Eads of the Orange and White, the Anderson Independent Mail, and was posted over the weekend. But back to this story. The athletic department is discussing the site plan with the Corps of Engineers, which must sign off on building projects on or near the lake. Those discussions should be done within a couple of weeks, and then Radakovich intends to ask the trustees for a conference call vote on whether to proceed with hiring architects, construction managers, and the like. And the football and basketball projects would be financed with state bonds to be repaid with athletic department revenues.
Okay.
All right, so there you go.
And bond secure, the artist formerly known as the Bilo Center.
Oh, here's one more piece of big news. The Clemson trustees voted to replace the last coal-fired boiler on campus with a new natural gas unit.
All right. Okay. And I hope they really get the thing back on schedule, because Clemson, if you're in the Atlantic Coast Conference, you need a show place. I don't care how many it seats. But for this basketball conference, and it is an ogre, you need a great facility.
No question about it. K-Mac's headed to Clemson tomorrow.
Yeah, Talking Tuesday.
Have a nice trip. I'll cover the Gamecocks before starting to head out towards Boston in my weird kind of way. But we'll be with you all week long, unless I'm at the Patriots game on Thursday night. Even then, I might still be with you. Hopefully, I'll be there in Foxborough. And Pro will be here as well tomorrow night, a Talking Tuesday. Look forward to being with you. Thanks for being with us. Thank you, Steak Man. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.